the jobs that are available, the needs that are out there. But what I didn't mention is that while I am responsible for the fundraising guy, BDI is not reliant on fundraising. The revenue that I bring into the organization only accounts for about 30% of our revenue. They're like, well, what keeps the lights on? Right? It's not you. what keeps the lights on? So BDI has a wonderful business model. 95%, and I know math isn't going to add up in your heads, 95% of its revenue is earned through services that it provides. When I say services, I mean business services. So we provide contractual work, landscaping, building maintenance, call center work. We have a call center in College Park, in which we provide it for a medical supplier, but we have seats for 120 students, and then thanks to the pandemic, we now have a hybrid working model in which we utilize a third-party vendor, people can work remotely at that job. And then we also provide a supply chain logistics solution for companies. So to give you an example, when Delta switched over all of their uniforms, and they wanted to know, what do we do with all these uniforms across our entire corporate platform? They found a company that does upcycling, where they take the uniforms and make them into other products. However, a lot of their uniforms had zippers, buttons, so they came to us to remove those and get the uniforms ready for upcycling. So we had all of the Delta uniform, and I'm talking vests, I'm talking ties, you name it, in our warehouse, and that's what we were doing. We were taking the threads out of them, we were removing zippers, but that's one of the contracts that we have. So we also provide administrative mailroom work. We run 911 call center. We clean the control tower at RCO Jackson Airport. We have federal contracts. EDI is an Ability One contractor. And Ability One is a program through the federal government, through the Department of Defense, where the Department of Defense sets aside 1% of 1% of their budget. And it's real money when you think of the Department of Defense's budget. So they set aside that percentage that goes towards contracts in which 75% of those employed on those contracts have to have a diagnosis ability. So the
I just want to come there to make clear to all people in the room, all on the call, that these are disabled jobs. They're disabled people in these jobs. This is the answer to what a lot of people have come to me and crying about can't find a job. This is where he's happening.
Appreciate having me. I'll give you my card. Next cohort starts in July, so we are actively recruiting. And then we thought about the next level, right? Because you have entry level, and then we can get into platforms like ServiceNow, and you can bring some of those. When I worked with TechBridge, I started the technology career program alongside a colleague who is now mayor of this fair city. And so Andre and I put together a technology career program, and they're now doing ServiceNow training, and it's we'll graduate from that into more of the $75,000 to $80,000 a year job to start. So there is but I just found out a lot of people would be going through therapy and training with major people. They don't want to spend so much time and patience. They don't want to deal with someone like you, because now you have to have major patience to deal with somebody else. People get frustrated. I'd rather not deal with you because it takes more time. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. Because yes, you need instruction, an instructor, and an instructor's assistant to be ready for that and build the curriculum around it. So gratefully, we just started. And our first cohort was very small intentionally. Because for one, this was our first. Two, everybody in the cohort was on the spectrum. And when you meet one person with autism, you met one person with autism. And that's how this cohort has gone through as well. For our cohorts in the future, our next cohort is probably only going to be 10 students, but it's a very selective 10. And then we may splinter off and do multiple cohorts at one time. But the technology career program that I worked on at TechBridge, their waiting list is now over 1,000. Now, they're 5 years in, but so there's a demand, and yet right now, we've got openings. We will have openings. All right, so I know I'm going to preach to the group here in terms of the benefits of employing those with disabilities, but I just wanted to level set and share this slide. And if nothing else, then it can be a self-advocacy. All right, so we'll start here. All right, well, what is this picture to you as to what the benefits are of employing somebody with a disability? Looks like you want to say something. Right? Team environment, right? All perspectives are represented, right? So when a decision comes, it's not just a couple people in a room that all look the same and think the same. I think if we've been through the corporate world, you probably all serious staff. We're like, where did this decision come from, right? Who came up with that? Because they didn't ask me, and I've got a different opinion. So absolutely. All right. How about this one? Accident. And there's a new member of the impossible. So it is for the employer. There's something called the work opportunity tax credit, and any big employer knows all about it. I remember, I think we're in Igniting Inclusive Workforce, somebody from Georgia Pacific held the talk, and there are benefits to a company or anybody that they employ that has a disability. Now that person has to divulge it, but there are benefits, very much so.
All right, one point on that. So the issue is being able to go to work in an environment and want to disclose that you have that cognitive disability is sometimes a challenge for the person. We have that constant struggle to get people with a disability to say that they have, a cognitive type of situation.
Roger, you're so right. In fact, I went 5 years and had no transition on my team at DEI. And these are development fundraising professionals. The turnover is, the average is about a year of a development officer. So I went 5 years. But I had a challenge with one of the staff members during that 5 years. Come to find out, during the performance evaluation, he disclosed to me that he has a disability. And first thing I said was, let HR know. This is our business. So everybody working at BDI that had the hesitation of disclosure. And it's also a challenge that we found with our first cohort, in that we were promoting the fact that this is a certification available to only those with diagnosed disability. Well, the high-level functioning individual doesn't necessarily want to care. He doesn't want to be put into a group or feel like they're in a group of other individuals with disability. It's just the preconceived notions. So you're speaking truth. As long as somebody has a diagnosed disability that they can show some sort of proof of, then and that's all. So if a specialist has not diagnosed a specific reason, but there are attributes that lead a specialist to say may have this, that, or the other, then that's enough. So I think back to the time where I worked at Muscular Dystrophy Association. there were neuromuscular specialists who were like, well, it could be spinal muscular atrophy, or it could be Duchenne, or it could be, and immediately. So MBA, that's the same way. We don't pretend offering services based on the fact that somebody's diagnosis is in process. There's definitely, a path. There's going to be a conclusion, but we're not going to deny services because that conclusion hasn't been found.
The challenge is how do you test some of the cognitive situations that, like for me, I had a hard time speaking. I had a fader. I have a fade. And I basically lost out, but I still have some challenges where I have to do some accommodations to get around at work. Even now today, if I'm on a conference call with a bunch of leaders, I have to record the conference call, and then I have to play the conference call back and make sure I copied all of my notes. So those kind of things. You can't really test that.
And bring it back to the Bridge Academy program to help ascertain whether somebody may be able to go through the curriculum. There is a program that we enroll people in as almost a precursor. Now, there are some individuals where, based on just maybe the interview process and where they've already been at in their professional career, they may not necessitate that free enrollment program, but others, it's something that we offer. Almost like a readiness. It's like, get ready to get ready. Yeah. But I think that's the key too, right? It's some work on the front end so that we're not wasting people's time, but preparing them. And if after a couple of the modules, they're like, this isn't for me, all right, then no harm, no foul, it was on your own time, right? But if it is, then if you these are really high level, basic, IT functions. So. All right, getting back, so this is one thing to everyone, the center split. In terms of benefits to employing versus disability. High good morale, right, is positive. So the statistics show that those that have a disability who are in the workforce tend to have a high loyalty and a more positive impact on the workforce environment. All right, how about this one? It's hard work. This compass looking great. Yep, that's another statistic. So BDI is replacements. Close to 90% of them are still there after 90 days. 75% after 6 months. And that holds pretty true when we hit the year mark. And if you remember the industries that I talked about, call center, janitorial, building, those are not low transition, low turnover industries. So, all right. How about here? People high-fiving each other. It means after team reporting. That's right. The team environment. Everybody wins. Individuals with disabilities cover every age. So for those that are looking, where are my skilled workers for the future going to come? It's an answer. All right. However, all of you have challenges on both sides, right? Within your own home, within your own bodies, and then outside, there are prevalenness in the community. I saw it myself as I was tracking a young man that I met, when he was 8. He went to Furman, he went to UGA, he graduated, he was a PhD candidate, he was working on that doctorate, he could not find a full-time job. Highly capable. had to do with one of these myths on Kilo. Whether it was accommodations, we talked about accommodations, whether it was it's going to disrupt the team dynamic, whether it was there was a negative impact, whether it was worried about what to say, worried about what to do, it's gonna disrupt things from the office. In the case of the individual on my team, it's neuromuscular disease. What's happening when you get sick? How many weeks? How much lost productivity? Right? So these are real myths out there. I mean, there's no question about it. But the real stuff, the facts is that so far, we're a year in, a member of my team has not been sick in one day. Not one day. Accommodations, to my knowledge, he didn't ask for any supervisors to work there. He hasn't hasn't asked for one accommodation. You know what? More than half of the people who are employed with disabilities don't need any accommodations outside of what pretty much all of us needed during the pandemic, which is a Zoom subscription or Cisco or one of the other platforms or Microsoft Teams. That kind of level the playing field is a real eye-opener for a lot of companies in terms of accommodations. Accommodations are expensive. The vast majority of accommodations cost well under $500. They're not expensive. And you see in this day and age, more people are using stand-up desks and desks that go up and down, and so that's not it. Litigation. So when somebody gets let go, it is usually because of activity or some kind of workplace disposition that was inappropriate. It's not because of the guidance disability. There are so few cases out there of people getting let go because of their disability. In fact, in many cases, they're part of the team dynamic. There was an individual, actually a mom and her son, they were guests on one of the sessions. He works at Scottish Rite, he worked for CHOA, in which there were cutbacks happening during the pandemic. And his name was on the list with about 300 others. Well, the team rallied around him and said, listen, you got to understand how important this person is in our team dynamics and how productivity would diminish significantly because he knew the shortcuts in the hospital, how to get around and get to the right departments to get information circulating around the hospital. His job ended up being saved. So, all of these things are, once again, ways to advocate for yourself. The concerns that coworkers will say the wrong thing, people just need to be honest out there. I don't know if this is going to come out wrong, but I have a question. Are you okay with me asking? Individuals who don't live with what you live with, I think you're understanding, right? You're understanding. It's fucking, I get it. Let me tell you, this is the language that we use. But we don't expect everybody to know. All right. I alluded to this earlier. I said, hold that thought. This is what it all comes down to. It's not just about an employee being ready to take on a job, having the right resume, knowing what to say in an interview, knowing what the routine of work is going to be like, whether they have the financial literacy. All of that is important, especially somebody entering the workforce, of course. It's what's going to happen in that team dynamic. What's going to happen when that first thing that your boss says that you don't agree with takes place, because it's going to take place, and usually takes place within the first 90 days. What happens when you have that person in the work environment or on the team that you really wouldn't like to hang out with outside of work hours. It's going to happen. That's employee readiness. Okay? But this is the other area, employee readiness. What is the human resource process? Because if it's all about testing via Zoom and the colors on the screen do not have the contrast, and guess what? People who are able to do the work are going to fail those tests. So an employer has to be ready. If we've been getting calls now from the film industry, we get calls from accounting practices, we get calls from industries that wouldn't have even thought to reach out to BDI about jobs ads. They're doing it for a couple of reasons. One, they have open positions and they're tired of putting ads out there and not getting the candidates that they want. Okay, it's self-serving, we'll give them that. The other reason is because they put a banner out there publicly that they are inclusive. They're diverse. They want to be proud of that. They signed the disability in valuable 500 and they want to be part of that mix. Well, guess what? When they reach out to BDI and say, we want to employ those with disabilities, we're open to it, we start asking questions like, well, what is the work environment like? And we start finding out what's the team dynamic like, what does the onboarding look like? And a lot of HR departments need to shift their paradigm. They need to change their protocols, their practices. What happens when somebody gets on the job and starts working? Where's the support on the job? Is there a mentor assignment? Where is the safe space within a company? These are all important things, but employer readiness is key. Now, I remember talking to somebody at a company that I'll mention a little bit later, and they challenged me as I was saying, who are the companies who are truly inclusive? Not just, put the hat on, but are truly inclusive. And she said, there are so few that have sealed the deal. They want it, but we do live in a wonderful time where inclusivity now includes those with disabilities. Because it started out being minority groups, right? I mean, it was all right. This is the demographics of the population. We want to reflect the demographics of the population, but those with disabilities were left off. That is changing. So we have to change, but we also have to make sure that employers know what that looks like and to talk to them openly. So I mentioned that there are a couple of other good resources out there. These are some of them. So the BDI is a member of the Georgia Association of Training, Employment, and Supports. Some of the other organizations that we're in that consortium with are Goodwill, Tommy Novus, Easter Seals, New Ventures, and then there are staffing agencies that really focus and provide jobs, find jobs for those that have disabilities. First Step Staffing is one of those. Briggs and Associates. First Step Staffing is a nonprofit. Briggs is a for-profit, but both in the state. Inclusivity. Inclusively is a search engine for jobs that are accommodated, for companies that are accommodated. So you can go into the site that is Inclusively and type in the job that you're looking for or some keywords, and it'll bring up jobs that are available in companies and what accommodations they provide. So as sorry as I am, didn't hear of BDI for 5 years, there are other good resources out there as well. And maybe you've heard of some, maybe not. And they focus on different parts of the marketplace. So I know this tends to be the North Fulton area and Cobb County. So, but you can always welcome to connect with us.
So how, I mean, if you raise about point that he was looking for years, and I don't know, nobody knows about these. Some of these I haven't heard of.
So one, it costs money to promote. But number two is there's a consortium called Metro Atlantic Exchange, MAX for short, and they have built a portal where you can go in, you can just type in keywords of what services you're looking for, and it will tell you where they're located and the organizations that provide it. MAX, Metro Atlantic Exchange, the MAX portal. So I think we had to pull together and really design something so people could find us and find other organizations. You just couldn't rely on as great as the Community Foundation is, as great as United Way it is. We had to come up with something. We're all trying to promote. So you'll notice here on our social media that we crossed out Twitter. So we have put a hiatus on our Twitter tweets. It's just, I feel like there's more damage that can come out of Twitter these days than good. And so we put a moratorium on Twitter, so props to go. And one day I'll tell you about my perfect life. I got in our household, my significant other has a congenital connective tissue disorder, stage 3 lymphoma, is disabled, rheumatoid arthritis, and my wife's in. So it's for services. So it's just, but yes, it'll if you plug in, employment, jobs, it'll share with you what organizations are in it. But inclusively, it's a job site specific for. Thank you. Yeah.
I want to give folks online an opportunity to ask a question.
Oh yeah, I've been ignoring the chat, so that's nice. But how do I get in contact with certain companies that I seek interest in? Will you assist us with getting employed? Yes, we can do that. What is interesting though is that we're not a staffing agency. So actually BBI had that as one of its services. At one point, we realized there are a lot better organizations and companies that are doing that work than ours. And it was actually a very nice revenue positive. It was getting in too much into our mission work. So our job is to connect people with. So we can't hire somebody internally, and there are a lot of industries that we don't cover. We have outreach specialists, people who are finding employer partners, community-based employers to help us place individuals. And we've received, there's no money transaction there. That's just a part of our.
Any more questions from anybody online?
All right, then. Well, thank you again. Thank you for your patience as I ran through things. Thank you for the platform, and thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. That was eye-opening for me, even though I've been around you 2 years. I say again, this is a very, very critical area for us. I hear it all the time. Finding a job, staying employed, just being able to be significant. A disabled person is very easy. Matter of fact, a person that deals with a stroke is very easy to get detached from real life because isolation is your thing you fall back on. A lot of the challenges that we deal with cognitive, because I think is the hardest part to deal with. Because you can't look at a person and tell what they are or where they are or what problems they may exhibit. So those are the ones that are real scary because you can almost trick an employer into hiring you, but then when you get the job, you're like, oh my goodness, what I do now?
And then the employer's wondering, okay, who showed up to take the job after the employment? I do want to share, because I failed to mention this about Bridge Academy, and I think it goes to what you were talking about, sir, is that we recognize, because experience this with the technology program as Bridge, we place 12 individuals out of the first cohort. After less than a year, 60% of them were no longer employed. That was a hard process for all those resources, and that's a failure on everybody's part. So what we've done with Bridge Academy to ensure that their sustainability is we've been doing a coaching, mentoring nonprofit called Watering Seeds, and they are going to dedicate employment coaching for 12 to 18 months after somebody is closed. Sorry for the detour.
Any comments on what you've heard and what you've been thinking about or things that have been said? I'm looking at the Zoom here and I'm asking you guys. Nobody wants to step up.